Okay. Episode 5?
Episode 5. Let's do it.
Oh my goodness. Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 5 of Raised Red, Living Blue. I am Sloane Roden, joined by...
Jason Will.
Yay. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
We're officially in the season.
Yeah, I'm grateful for that this morning. Grateful that this is going to be the last week of school coming up before kids get out.
Like next week?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So
super fun. Oh yeah, get out of the hill of exams.
Yeah.
That puts a downer on the whole household.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm super excited. I'm really into the holidays and Christmas and I got all my Christmas shopping just about done. How about you?
Oh man, not done. A little bit here and there.
But your house is looking really good.
Thank you. That has been the priority.
It's like a little Christmas wonderland upstairs.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. What else is going on with you in terms of Christmas and the any drama?
No, not drama, but had to make a decision to set boundaries. My aunt and cousins, who it's my mom's sister and that side of the family, we always do the weekend following Christmas, kind of the extended family thing. And my aunt messaged everybody. These are the plans. Everybody's invited. Steph and I were invited. Just the only thing is my mom's dad would come over for an afternoon. And my aunt was like, you know, he is aware that she has been up here before and has lost her parents. And so it's under this guise of Sloane has a friend who has lost family. And it just didn't feel right. And I've been doing some reflecting and thinking and soul searching, and so that's been really on my mind this week. And I was finally able to figure out what is it that I'm feeling and how do I put these things into words. And I reached out to my aunt and let her know that we would not be coming because I cannot go up there and hide who I am and who we are and who Steph is to me. I did it for so long, kind of feeling like I've had to and I was supposed to. Probably some external forces played into that, also internal forces. There was also some things like, did some of these fears and external forces and things keep me from feeling like I deserved everything that straight couples have, and has some of this hindrance and fear, and also feeling like, do I deserve all of the same things? Do I even deserve to get married and have children and, live these full experiences like other people? And I kind of this week just got to the point where I was like, but I do deserve all of that. So I told my aunt, a good bit of this in there, but also that these are the things that I feel like I have done and compensated for, and I can't do it anymore. And I know I need to make this decision and come out to both of these grandparents, and I don't know how, but it is not this weekend's time, but that will then be the next step. And she sent me a lovely, lovely response. I'm sad that you will not be with us. Thank you so much for, taking the space and the energy to send me this lovely message explaining these things. And I'm behind you 100%. And I sent it to both my female cousins, and they had very similar reactions. You don't feel like you have to come out for anybody. If you want to and feel like you need to, we stand behind any decision you do, and we'll be behind you. So it's been a very emotional week. That's where I am.
That's heavy.
I know.
But it's on topic.
Yeah.
For what we're going to cover today with the Prattville Pride float in their Christmas parade. But I think just hearing more of your story really shines the light on the complexity of this issue.
Yes.
And all the ripple effects that happen, when you were talking, I was thinking, so what is your mom going to think about your decision to come out to her mother?
Yeah. Yeah, both of her parents, yes.
So what is that? Is that going to stir up a whole can of worms?
And it might. And I can't have my mom's feelings about it continue to be a part of my decision making. That's probably why I haven't. And it's been so long now. I came out to my mother 12 years ago. So I can't remember every conversation, but there are times that and things that she said that really, really have stayed with me. One time she said she didn't think, she felt that I had not come out to grandmother and granddaddy because I didn't believe it in myself. And I was like, okay, well, how we were raised and everything you said to me, and like, why would I do that? I felt like I felt like in doing so I would be putting a wedge in the family. Like people would have to choose between me or them, and I didn't want to cause that damage in the family. My dad told his parents for me. That was his choice. He said, I want to be the one to tell them. I want them to see and hear how I feel about it and how I'm okay with it and how we support you. And my mom like weaponized that against me. She at one time said, well, I'm not going to do it for you like your dad did. It almost like made me feel like she's insinuating that like I'm a spoiled brat by my father because he wanted to like shoulder something for me. Yeah, so the complexity.
And that it's, the insinuation that it's bad behavior.
Yes. Oh, yes.
All right, let's take a break.
Condemnable behavior.
Yeah, absolutely. And just the whole tone of it sounds very, very negative.
Mhm.
All right, let's take a break.
Okay.
So what our primary topic today is the Prattville Pride Parade issue.
Well, the Prattville Pride float in the City of Prattville Christmas Parade.
Yeah.
Which I saw locally on like AL.com and Facebook groups, but it has been picked up by national news.
Has it really?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Mm-hmm. I found articles on Washington Post and Newsweek about it.
So Prattville Pride is an organization.
Mm-hmm.
They filed a federal lawsuit against the city of Prattville alleging violation of First and 14th Amendment rights.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the statement from Prattville Pride. We have filed a federal lawsuit against the city of Prattville alleging violation of our First and 14th Amendment rights and demanding redress by the city. This is from Stephen Harris, the attorney that represents Prattville Pride. And basically what happened is a federal judge ordered the city to reinstate Prattville Pride back into the Christmas parade. The statement from the city says the city respects the ruling of the court and will comply with this order. The safety of everyone involved with the parade is a priority. The city hopes that everyone enjoys this Christmas season and the parade tonight. So that was a public post on the city of Prattville's Facebook page, and it set off a firestorm of remarks. I think there was over like 1,300 comments on this post. And so I went through and selected several that I thought would be good.
Can I go back a little bit?
Sure.
So just a little kind of background information. The city of Prattville, which is a suburb of Montgomery in central Alabama, has a Christmas parade. They had like over 100 participants or groups of organizations that had signed up to have floats in the parade. The organization Prattville Pride had received threats regarding them being a participant in the parade. Prattville Pride reached out to the local police department and asked for security to keep their volunteer safe. And at that time, the city of Prattville said, no, we need to keep everybody safe. You can't have special treatment. You're out. So then they filed an injunction, and it was appealed by a Trump-appointed judge.
Interesting.
When we found out, it was in the, after the judge ruled in favor of Prattville Pride, then that's when this firestorm happened. And you had, a Catholic church in Prattville and maybe one other pulled participation from it. Some people said we will go elsewhere. Then that's, the firestorm really took off.
Yeah. All right. So that's great backstory. I think that is a good segue into one of these comments, which read, "These federal judges are what is wrong with America today. Christmas is to remember the birth of Jesus, not sexual preference. Prattville Pride should have its own parade at another time and place." But what I want to get your opinion on is that Christmas is to remember the birth of Jesus, not sexual preference. So what I meant when I was talking about the complexity and really the clarity you provided, in your kind of opening dialogue about what's going on with you and your family around Christmas time, I think a goal here is to inform people, to educate people, to get people thinking about this issue on a different level. We've already addressed this several times, I think, on the pod, but that this is not a sexual preference. The language that's being used is just incorrect, and it fuels the fire.
Yes.
So, I mean, if you were to define your sexuality, how would you do so in an alternative way besides referring to it as a sexual preference? I mean,
I've never thought about it.
Well, let me ask you this. Okay. At what age did you realize you might be different?
20s. Young 20s.
And so, society had, just how you're raised, it's like it's man and woman. And did that started to feel like it just wasn't right or wasn't a good fit?
Right. And just background, grew up Church of Christ. And I was a cheerleader. I went to Alabama. I was in a sorority. I was always in this very straight, binary, traditional settings and thinking and thought process and lifestyles. And so the few people I knew in high school that were gay were boys, and it was 2006, so nobody really came out until after high school. But so I don't know, it's like you're dating around, and it's just not fitting. And Steph is the only woman I've ever had a relationship with, and it just everything clicked and felt right.
Well, let me ask it. Let me try this.
Okay.
The boys in high school that were gay.
Yeah. Okay.
Were you friends with any of these?
Yeah.
Boys? What did you feel about their lifestyle? Did you feel like they were making a choice, or did you feel like they were born that way?
I would assume I thought they were born that way, but I feel like then we didn't analyze it as much as we do now. Or it could have just been the age I was. Which we didn't.
Yeah, because this is the tone of a lot of this is wickedness, sinful. Let me see what this does to your heart rate. The shoving of this immoral, perverse behavior will not stop unless those in opposition take a stand. Do not participate. Also, what about the rights of Christians being violated? What about the rights of families who care about morals being violated? So perverse immoral and something that we need to take a stand against before it corrupts. And really what a lot of these comments are focused on is the corruption of today's youth. And that we're bringing, or the Prattville Pride was bringing sexuality into a Christmas parade.
Well, I would argue that straight people and Christians shove their sexuality down our throats every single day.
Right.
I don't feel that I can walk around town in Birmingham, Alabama, and hold the hand of my girlfriend and kiss her in public, where straight people are, have their like hands in each other's pants in public. So like, whose sexuality is being like touted and flaunted around here? The only people talking about sexuality in this Christmas parade are the straight white people trying to condemn it. Prattville Pride just wants to be a part of this community event. And I have a quote from, I believe this is from the Montgomery Advisor. A man walked in front of the pickup pulling the float with a rainbow-colored pride flag. But other than that, it was not obvious which group was sponsoring the float. Several people cheered the float as it traveled the route. About half a dozen uniformed Prattville officers, 2 on bicycles, and others followed the float along the route. This individual, Stephanie Wallace, didn't know it was the Pride float until it passed. She was taking in the parade along 4th Street near the Chestnut Street intersection. This is her quote. "I hate that so much was stirred up," she said. "I think I'm like most people. I'm just out here enjoying the parade." The controversy did not seem to affect attendance, as several thousand people lined the streets downtown.
Yeah, I read that too. There was some, I don't know if this is rooted in any basis of fact, but there was discussion that there was going to be someone dressed in drag.
Oh, okay, yes.
On the float.
Right.
And I heard some comments from folks talking about the children that were on the Pride float. Like, why were there children on that float? They don't even know what they're quote unquote representing.
Well, maybe they're children of gay couples.
Yeah, so they're
like, why can't they, if they have like 2 mommies or 2 daddies, why can't they be on the float?
Well, and I don't know, speaking from ignorance, but I would just assume that that's a lot of where this word pride comes into play and why it was chosen to be the real representative word of this movement. But I would think these kids, it gives them an opportunity to be proud of who their parents are.
Yeah, yes.
Proud of their community.
And for their parents to show them, like, we are not afraid of who we are, and you should not be afraid of who you are within this family. I mean, because shame is very, very heavy.
Yeah. I do want to just mention something here. Let me read this quote here, and this is from a dissenting opinion, really, from the majority of the comments that were made.
Okay.
And this person writes, "Folks are all about the Constitution until it protects others they have zero regard for." I think this is really, really important, because really what we're boiling this down to, it is very much discussion of politics, a very direct discussion about the Constitution. And really what I believe most people on the right believe in their heart of hearts is that those of us on the left are unpatriotic, disregarding of the Constitution. And it's just very hypocritical when you look at this and see these remarks. But there's this very strong wave of evangelical Christianity. And I just, there's been a lot of discussion, in the news, in the headlines lately about the separation of the church and state. And so a really great podcast out there for those folks out there listening that want to hear, I think, a very middle of the road discussion about this is the Lincoln Project podcast.
Oh,
but he made a great comment on the pod this week about how people on the right just seem to idolize immortalize and just have this deep love and admiration for the founding fathers of this country. But he pointed out that they had very distinct, very strong views about the separation of church and state. Yep. And I think this is what we're dealing with here. I mean, we're dealing with a city issue, a local government, and a lot of the, I think, pushback is rooted in religion.
Yeah, and it's not like, okay, and so some arguments are, well, this is a Christmas parade, and gay people have nothing to do with Christmas, and I could argue one side of that. Well, it's like, okay, yes, but it's a Christmas parade put on by a local municipality who then is governed by the Constitution and has to give everybody equal opportunity to participate and cannot discriminate. If this was put on by a private organization like a church and they wanted to keep a pride float out, that is a different set of arguments. But being a local government, that I agree with where the judge ruled.
Yeah, it's not we the people, but it's like we've been talking about pretty repetitively on this show. I mean, it's not free speech, but it's we the people, and it just shows. I mean, the ignorance that exists, but it's also it's very damaging. I just I'm not a big religious person or person of faith or any of that stuff, but I've been immersed in it for a long time. I really gave Christianity a solid go for about 3 years, and it was important to my wife, and she was raised in the church, and church was a big part of her life, and she just always wanted that for our family. And so I gave it a really strong go there for a while, and was really disappointed and betrayed, and just found a lot of bigotry, a lot of hatred, a lot of judgment. Yeah. And so I'm hearing this message from the pulpit that says, only God can judge, but then I'm seeing judgment everywhere. And there were some comments here that people were making about, that very fact that, hey, we're not here to judge, and I believe this is scripture, but the scripture that, popped up in my mind as I was reading these comments was, let he without sin cast the first stone, something into that effect, right?
Yes. Let he who is without sin cast the first stone.
Yeah, so I feel like there's a lot of stones being cast here. What say you?
I agree.
Here's another quote. I think this is probably one of the most hateful ones, but we'll see. There's a few more left to go. This is horribly shocking. I would suggest when the demons on this float go by to hold up your Bibles. When the demons on this, so we've already said there were kids on this float. So the demon kids, the demon parents, and the horrible demon who was carrying that pride flag at the parade. I mean, they're all going to hell, and they need to burn in hell, is what I hear when I read that. Wow. Right. If you met this person for a cup of coffee that wrote this comment, Jesus Christ. And this person was willing to give you a minute, 30 seconds to a minute to, combat this comment, how do you think you'd address it?
I don't think...
Or can you even?
I don't think you can. Because for years, my most favorite, there is a West Wing episode where President Jed Bartlett, played by Martin Sheen, starts quoting the Bible against a evangelical activist. And she is talking about how it's one of the first, Leviticus, Deuteronomy, one of those with all the rules. Not the fun stories, the rules about how, homosexuality is a sin.
I like how you call homosexuality an abomination. I don't say homosexuality is an abomination, Mr. President. The Bible does.
Yes, it does. Leviticus
18:22.
chapter and verse. I wanted to ask you a couple of questions while I had you here. I'm interested in selling my youngest daughter into slavery as sanctioned in Exodus 21:7. She's a Georgetown sophomore, speaks fluent Italian, always cleared the table when it was her turn. What would a good price for her be? While thinking about that, can I ask another? My chief of staff, Leo McGarry, insists on working on the Sabbath. Exodus 35:2 clearly says he should be put to death. Am I morally obligated to kill him myself, or is it okay to call the police? Here's one that's really important, because we've got a lot of sports fans in this town. Touching the skin of a dead pig makes one unclean, Leviticus 11:7. If they promise to wear gloves, can the Washington Redskins still play football? Can Notre Dame? Can West Point? Does the whole town really have to be together to stone my brother John for planting different crops side by side? Can I burn my mother in a small family gathering for wearing garments made from two different threads? Think about those questions, would you? One last thing. While you may be mistaking this for your monthly meeting of the ignorant tight-ass club, in this building when the president stands, nobody sits.
There's these things that Christians are able to say, well, that doesn't matter and that doesn't matter, and cherry pick what they want either out of the Old or the New Testament and say, this is now what we're going to be okay with. But homosexuality, they will die on that mountain.
Yeah, it's like they have this authority, though, or a duty or a demand from the Bible. I mean, here's another quote here, that this holiday is based on the birth of Jesus, and Christianity, according to the Bible, is against homosexuality. You know, I know TikTok does a lot of evil.
I would also say that Jesus and Christmas would be about consumerism, but like everybody's okay spending a whole bunch of fucking money.
I was waiting for the F-bombs.
Like, what is it? It's easier for a camel to get through the eye of a needle than a rich man to enter the gates of heaven. I'm going to fact check this in a minute and see how close I was. But like, the double standards and the hypocrisy is absolutely delusional. And this is why people like me who were raised in the church have said, like, peace out, we're done. This isn't what we signed up for.
Yeah. Couple things. So if I've seen several members of clergy on TikTok addressing this, and this is where my ignorance comes in. They're saying that, you know, there isn't really anything in the Bible against homosexuality specifically. I don't really know about that, but I can tell you, like, I was driving through Coleman County. This has been a while ago, but I passed a church sign that said, "All are welcome."
Mm.
All are welcome.
Are all
yeah.
welcome?
So, I wanted to, you know, as a person who lives blue in the closet for the most part, I was like, man, what would it be like to have the freedom enough to pull over and make some content about this, shoot a video in front of the sign and go, let's define all. Mm-hmm. You know, can I bring my biracial couple friends to this church? Can I bring my homosexual friends to this church? What do you guys mean by all?
And now these are things I've heard, so I take that with a grain of salt. But I know of at least one church here in town who says, yes, we will welcome you. I think because they want your offering. The more members you have, the more money that the church gets. It's really the most recession-proof business model there is in all of human history.
Right.
But they will let you, as gay people, come to church, but you cannot have any sort of position of authority or volunteer, or, you can't pass the communion plate, you can't be in the choir, you can't lead singing, you can't lead a Bible study. Like, you are at the very, very, very bottom of the totem pole. So just when you say all are welcome, just opening the doors, to me, it's a bit patronizing.
Well, I think, interpretations of this are pretty, not very deep. I would just say that my assumption would be if we had a member of one of these clergies on or interviewed them outside the pod, they would say something to the effect that, Jesus is love, and love has no boundaries. Love knows no sexuality.
Yeah.
Love does not judge, things like that.
That, I don't know if I thought it or if it was said to me and it made sense. But it came down to when I was when I was struggling with like, oh fuck, like I'm in love with this person and it goes against everything I was raised. And it was like,
that's deep.
Well, if it is love, how can it be wrong?
That's so powerful. And that's what I think, really gives some people something really to think about, that are these, that are saying these, very hateful things. One of my favorite quotes is, come from curiosity and not judgment. And that's really, I think, my goal here is, you were talking about before we started the podcast about how, you tried to read both sides, or you're trying to make an effort to read both sides, the liberal and conservative media viewpoints on things. And I think that's great.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I think, and we all need to be doing more of that. All right. Let me give you one more.
Okay. You give me one more, and then I want to read you some quotes from an article as well.
All right. So this person wrote, "This is about family values versus a wicked agenda that they are trying to force down people's throats and expose our kids to. Drag queens have no place in this parade." Thoughts?
Well, one, the drag queen did not participate.
And we don't know if that was ever the plan, or whether the Prattville Pride decided that, let's not be controversial. Or
what I read, and I read about 5 different articles, so I'm not sure which one, but there showed a picture of a throne with a sash with the drag queen's title, and it was laid on the throne. And that, what I read is that individual person chose not to participate for their safety. But also, like, it's this idea that like drag is sinister when it is a form of like expression and entertainment. Like, I don't know, like they're not up there stripping, it's no, they're not like doing like,
well, just real quick,
I don't know, like there's nothing like vile about it. Like,
it's not an extremist group.
I mean, I don't think so.
This is not a cowardly attempt to push children towards a radical left agenda.
No, it is to expose children that there's people different from you that deserve love and respect, and to be a part of this community and to befriend people.
Well, and also, I think if you're a gay person, a young gay person, and you see this pride float, you feel a sense of community, you feel a sense of belonging, and you don't feel as alone and as isolated as maybe you did in the past.
And potentially ashamed.
Yeah.
And think, these parents that write this on the internet, there's no telling what they're saying in their homes with their children listening.
These people, like, what example are they setting? Are they living paycheck to paycheck? I mean, are they living responsibly? What example are they setting for their kids? I mean, I just...
One guy on Facebook was like, I should get my church to have a float in their pride parade. And I commented, because I knew he thought he was hot shit saying that. I said there are multiple churches in Birmingham who are inclusive and accepting of the gay community, and they march every year in our Birmingham Pride Parade. So, like, go gag on that.
Yeah.
Like, you're not as fucking funny as you think you are.
And I noticed that person didn't have a retort for your comment.
I think it was like, okay.
Oh, was it? I didn't see it. Yeah. But that's the extent of it. I mean, it's like, nobody's really being curious before they make a comment or content on social media.
I found, oh man, this was hard for me to do. I found an article, not an article, an opinion piece on 1819news.com.
So let's give some some context of 1819. That this is a local. Is it out of Tuscaloosa or out of Montgomery? It's a local, or it may be even Birmingham. It is a local Alabama news platform, a conservative news platform.
Yes.
I want to mention this, that I, like you, signed up for the 1819 newsletter or whatever it is, and have since unsubscribed because it is just so right-wing, I guess, for a lack of better terminology.
So this person, she starts by saying, my husband and I chose small-town Alabama life over city life for a reason. One of those reasons is the historical continuity and the traditional practices. When you hear historical continuity and traditional practices, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm wondering what the hell she's talking about. Historical continuity. What does that mean?
She wants an all-white community.
Yeah.
Let's see. What did I say about this last night? I said, white traditionalist, colonial, patriarchal values. Got it. Then I said, so she can get back in the kitchen.
Yeah.
If that's what you want. Yeah. This writing was awful. It's like she's trying to be like smug and funny and use like hip language, like put a kibosh on it and sorry, this ain't it. Like Trick, you're not cute.
I just find history to be ugly in a lot of cases. I mean, in Alabama during the civil rights movement, I mean, the church bombings here in Birmingham. I mean, there's a lot of dark stains, and so when people, reference history as something that, it's something we should be learning from, not necessarily living by.
So this is interesting. She said, being waved to by people in elf costumes or those acting as Tigger and Grinch characters, while also watching local businesses participate in ushering in the season, did my heart good and was a delight to see. And it's like, what the hell does Tigger have to do with Christmas?
Yeah.
It's the same of only Christians deserve to celebrate Christmas. Oh, riddle me this. What does gay pride have to do with Christmas or the holiday? Sorry, not sorry. But when I think about Christmas joy, a pride-themed float is not in the mental lexicon. It is not traditional, seasonal, or culturally relevant. You can't say, we get to celebrate Christmas, but you can't. It would just be like telling people, like, we as straight people get to send out Christmas cards, but you can't. You can't participate in that. Like, I would say that is like pushing your sexuality and your beliefs on everybody else. Like, you're putting all that out there for the world to see.
Yeah, it's like, hey, get back in your closet.
100%. 100%.
Yeah, stay there.
Yes.
We don't care what you do as long as you stay in there. Y'all can send Christmas cards to each other, but do it in private. Y'all can have a pride parade, but do it somewhere else. And it just goes back to the division that exists in this country, and it's just creating an environment of unsafety. It's creating an environment of censorship. It's going back in time to this historical continuity where it's our way or the highway. This is a world for white people,
white men,
white men who run the household. Everything referenced in religion is with the pronoun he. Everybody's all into these pronouns, but it's all he and him and all that stuff. So it's just dangerous. We're in a dangerous time, and it's concerning. It's hard to believe that we're even having to talk about this when we have a lot of real problems with like homelessness and, there's a lot of issues that we should be addressing.
Mm-hmm.
You got anything else on this topic?
I don't think so.
All right, let's take a break.
Okay.
And we're going to go into headlines next, and we're going to be specifically focused on Trump's interview with Kristen Welker on Meet the Press, and we'll be right back. We're going to fact check
Oh, goodness.
Trump's interview with Kristen Welker on Meet the Press. And, I just think for me personally, I don't know what kind of stood out for you from that interview, but, she pressed him on this kind of topic of division. And, I mean, just a total lack of self-awareness, feels like he bears no responsibility for what's going on. And I would just say, when you undermine the rule of law, when you undermine free and fair elections, that creates a divide. I mean, he's still in that interview is not conceding the loss of the 2020 election and made statements that the 2024 election kind of affirmed the unfairness of the 2020 election. Yeah, so let's just start with, I think, we could talk about tariffs. We could talk about inflation. I mean, it just seems that we mentioned on the show before that Trump seems to be a very inflationary president.
Well, and he's since come out and said, oh, darn, looks like I can't bring grocery prices down.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, well, no shit.
Right. Because you can't, we're challenging people to come from a place of curiosity.
Yeah.
And I would challenge people to dig in to this, because there's so many people out there that voted for Trump that feel like gas prices, egg prices, inflation is something you can just turn on and off like a light switch. It doesn't work that way.
And as two people in the real estate industry, where they have put the cooling of inflation on the backs of the real estate industry and all of these rate hikes, like, let me tell you, it is not done overnight.
Right.
And has been a over 2-year battle.
Absolutely. 100%. And you don't have to dig that deep to find, some really good information about how all this works. But I think for the sake of time, because we did, we had a beast to tackle today with the Prattville Pride issue. So I think I would like to focus on let's do away with inflation. Let's not talk about healthcare. I will just mention that, the right has had a very long time to come up with a plan, and he just still reiterated that they have concepts of a plan.
Yes.
But my two big things here are the 2020 election and immigration. And what are we about to see? Basically, what he said in this interview was that everybody's got to go.
Yes.
Because there were pundits on the right that were saying, really, all Trump's, puffing his chest out on this, but really what we're going to target is the criminals. Okay. And who wouldn't agree with that? Okay. If there's somebody in here, the country illegally, that is a rapist, a murderer, they need to go.
Yes.
Okay. So we all agree on that, no matter what side we're on.
Right.
But the big thing was that Trump got hammered for, in his first term, was the separation of kids from their families. So they have a very easy solution to that this time around.
Yes, it was the kids in cages.
Yeah, but so now.
Oh, now the kids can stay, but they're going to take their parents.
No, everybody goes.
I think it's one or the other.
Is it one or the other?
I think that's what that's
yeah.
What I heard.
So if they don't want to be separated from their parents, the only solution is they got to go with them.
Right. They have to leave the only home they've ever known, that their parents then went through horrific conditions to get here, to sacrifice, to come with nothing, to give everything they have. There's these horrible stories about, they meet somebody who can take them across the border and they ask for this much, and then they get over there and they ask for more, and sometimes they don't even make it. So these people have been through what we would consider like nightmares and horrors to get here, and then we just have to snatch them up and take them away.
There have been people with, let's say, homicide convictions or homicidal intentions crossing the border for decades, some of which came across the border during Trump's first administration. Okay. So this is a problem that we should be united against, and rooting these people out. But you're gonna stoke. He just says like, no, not a single person, not a single terrorist, not a single murderer, not a single drug smuggler came across the border when I was president, and Biden just opened the borders and let all these people in.
Yeah.
So I would just say this, and this is
immigration is such a behemoth.
This is from a person we're big fans of, Jessica Tarlov, who's the left voice on Fox News. But she's concerned about these mayors and governors who are saying they're going to really stand their ground and not let this happen in their states.
Especially think of states where they have major agricultural industries, and as a large portion of their workforce is undocumented immigrants who do manual labor that nobody else is willing to do.
Yeah, and the economic impact this is going to have. I think from looking at both sides of this, it has become clear to me, because I've always heard this. When I heard this term open borders, I've just never thought there was any validity to that. Reading and watching and listening on both sides of this argument, it seems that if you go far enough left, you're going to find people that do believe we should have open borders. And that's a bad thing. We should, I think, all be coming from a place of curiosity as to what is going to happen to these communities, these local and state economies, when these people start to be rooted out.
And they contribute to these economies and contribute to our GDP. And
pay taxes,
and they don't get benefits like that American citizens get.
Yeah,
I mean, if they are working jobs where taxes are taken out and Social Security and all that, like, they will not, where they are now, if they remain, if they never become American citizen, they will not reap the benefits of those programs that they paid into.
What I want to encourage people to do is to do the same thing we're doing, is to read, watch, and listen on both sides of this argument, and try to really, I don't know, create some continuity of thought and understanding around what's going on here, and not look for some historical continuity which has been based on social class, economic standing,
caste system,
color of your skin, this type of stuff. All right, so listen to this from the interview where Trump was talking about the 2020 election, and then we'll wrap this episode up. Trump vaguely reiterated his lie that he was the real winner of the 2020 election, saying, "I think it is an easy argument. It was really proven even more conclusively by the win that I had on this one. His legitimate victory in 2024 does not do anything to validate his claims that the 2020 election was stolen." So, this, and he bears no responsibility for the divisiveness of continually not conceding this election. And this is a problem among MAGA, but also very traditional Reagan, Bush Republicans, outside of the Lincoln Project, who are like, this is not right. Let's go back to the Constitution and the founders and things like that. I mean, he should be called to the carpet by everybody on every side that, hey, you won fair and square. Let's see what you're going to do. You got another 4 years to cement your legacy for good or bad, but this cannot stand. Like, you lost. You need to say you lost. And now we're getting a cabinet full of election deniers and people that are still pushing these false narratives. And I just think it's devastating.
Yeah.
It's devastating for the country. It's really, I think, the root of this. But anytime somebody brings this up to me, I'm just like, dude, if the deep state, if the radical liberals, if we had this much power, this son of a bitch wouldn't have won the first time, and he certainly wouldn't have won in 2024. I mean, if we stole it once, why wouldn't we steal it every time?
Right. It's a good point. It's a good point.
So, but also the damage this does, because I think a lot of people just were like, fuck it. What's the point in voting? It's all rigged anyway.
Yeah.
And this is how democracies have fallen. Let's go back to the historical continuity of, the rise and fall of democracies throughout history.
Well, and it's like the Washington Post's motto is "Democracy dies in darkness." And so many things I've heard lately, which can be, attributed to all these factors, is it's death by 1,000 cuts.
And it's worth the risk if our prices of our gas goes down and our eggs go down and interest rates go down and all these things.
And like the death by 1,000 cuts, I thought it was kind of like fear mongering, but I'm starting to see it when Dobbs was ruled and Roe v. Wade fell. It opened up, gay marriage and all these other things, and it's really looking like in the U.S. v. Scrimeti that's hearing at SCOTUS right now. It's going to be a 6-3 ruling. This was interesting. This petition was not accepted, but it would have been a very, very compelling argument. The argument of parental rights was not heard, which the right loves the protection of parental rights when it comes to choices for their children over vaccines and where they're going to go to school and other things. But the justices did not want to hear the argument of parental rights when it comes to this set of medical decisions. Sounds like Kavanaugh is really leaning into his constitutionalism mindset of, well, the Constitution doesn't state about trans health care, so then we need to stay out of it, which I think these constitutionalists are spineless people who just want to throw everything back to the states. Then you have 50 states that do things differently, and there's not equal protections or rights under the law. There's 50 ways of doing it. And at some point, like when you're a citizen of a country, you should have some basic rights and protections no matter where you live. So this is really like, you can see this unraveling. It has started, and it is continuing. I'm trying to think, was there anything else on this that I was?
Yeah, I would just say that what I'm seeing is, what I saw from the 2016 election kind of moving forward from the right, what I've seen for a long time, really, in politics is the politics of fear. And it seems like that strategy has evolved to really the politics of cruelty. And it's really frightening where we're headed, the dialogues that are going on right now, and what's to come. There has been some scuttlebutt among, elites on the left and some on the right. I think that, people joke about leaving the country. People are doing that. People with a lot of money who have a lot to lose potentially, or it's just the fact that they don't know, that we don't know what the outcome is going to be here from all of this.
Yeah.
That you can't assure people that our democracy is going to look the same in 4 years is enough for people to go, see ya.
Yep.
And I would just say this, the Republican Party, the party of Lincoln, was the party of civil rights. I mean, so there's been great shifts among these parties on both sides, and we'll see what happens. We'll see if there is an emergence of a more traditional kind of, because the country, they talk about this a lot on the Lincoln podcast, is really the majority of our country is right of center, center right. And the Republican Party is not a representation of the populace. It isn't. And the Democratic Party has become the party of pronouns and the party of homosexuality and the party of, elitism and all these different things. And we all have a lot of work to do on both sides, I feel like. All right, well, we didn't plug anything, or we haven't plugged anything in a while.
Let's plug ourselves.
Yeah, let's plug
Oh my gosh.
Did you mean to say let's plug ourselves?
I meant like our podcast.
I don't know. I'm going to
on.
fight for that to be left in, that Sloane thinks we should plug ourselves. Let's plug ourselves.
I've been looking and I'm like, this thing
it's shot anyway.
Okay, Jason, how do you feel at the end of today's episode? It was a lot. It was a lot. I don't know. I just feel good talking about this stuff. This feels like a safe space. This basement has become a sanctuary of free speech. Sloane, how do you feel about this episode? I feel tired, like I just had therapy.
Yeah, exactly.
Do I?
In a healthy way? Has it been a healthy therapy session?
I think so. I had these thoughts and points, and then you just start talking, and it, I'm just like many other weeks, we don't get to it all, but I hope we, have some great things for people to think about and consider and take with them. I told my parents about the pod. They love it. Well, my Democrat dad and stepmom, and my stepmom has like shared it with her like Democrat lady friends, and like they love it.
So we need to encourage these people to hit the follow button.
Hit follow.
It may be too much to ask to have them rate and leave a review, but just hitting follow is huge.
Hit follow. So we are available on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. New episodes drop every single Monday. You can find clips on Raised Red Living Blue _pod on Instagram. And then you're handling TikTok. What's our TikTok handle?
I'll get back to you on that. I love this episode that the Lincoln Project did this past week, where they took questions from the audience, and it was so good. And I would love to get questions from the audience and have a chance to answer those questions and to really hear what's on the hearts and minds of the people out there. What are they dealing with? Because, think about this. You asked about, like, how am I feeling at the end of this episode? Well, privileged white male gets to leave here and go about his day and not have to hear echoes in my ears and my brain that I'm a demon, or that I'm a radical, or that I'm an extremist, or that I'm going to burn in hell for a sinful lifestyle I've chosen. And so, our paths that we are walking in this life are extremely different. And I just hope people can just kind of think about that. Like, maybe not what if them, but what if somebody they know or they is in their family or their circle that may be having to live life with those kind of challenges. To knowing that's like, hey, you can come to my Christmas party, but deep down, when you die, my feeling is you're going to burn in hell. That's some deep, dark stuff, but it is reality.
Yeah.